How do you avoid making the 10 easiest and biggest mistake you're going to make as a leader transforming your business? I'm going to go through those 10 mistakes and we're going to fix them live together. So you're going to get 10 best practices. So it's a do's and don'ts. Let's get into it. Number 1, solely focusing on trying to resolve a problem is the easiest mistake to make because it makes sense. It seems and it sounds rational. If you want to transform your business, you need to be better at resolving issues because this is where you're helping people out. Well, this is where it's a mistake. If you focus only on problems and you revolve the whole transformation of your business around being better at resolving problems, you might be missing out on a bigger opportunity. You need to starve issues and feed opportunities. And that means you need to be focusing on offering value. So let's rephrase, let's scratch this off. It's not solving a problem. We want it to be better at trying to offer more value. I'm going to go through a concrete example, something basic. Let's say you have a teenager at home, 18, 19, and he or she asks you, I have a problem, I need your help. Fine. Okay, what's your problem? I don't have a car. Okay. Let's try to resolve that problem. Well, if you go with the first mistake, trying to buy a car or help he or she buy a car, you're not resolving necessarily the ultimate problem, which is not understanding what's the need and what's the value around getting a car. So if you ask questions and you figure out he or she needs more autonomy, wants to be closer to his or her friends, doesn't want to rely on you giving, rides to work or whatnot. Well, maybe the better value is to move out, get your own apartment, and I'm going to help you out financially. It's probably going to be less costly than owning a car, and you're going to get what you want, more freedom, more autonomy, closer to friends, and closer to work. So if you focus on problems, you won't offer value. You're just going to resolve the problem. It's partially creating value. Number 2, having better capabilities at the heart of a mission is always something you're going to hear. The why is an easy mistake to make because it sounds, again, very reasonable. Being better at doing something and transforming and having that as a mission because you want to be better at doing something, it sounds good, right? It even sounds great. Why is that a mistake? I mean, why isn't doing something good great? Well, the issue with that is that if you change and revolve and think about only being better at doing something, then you're missing out on the bigger picture. And this is why we're going to correct the statement. And instead of having better capabilities, we're going to go with having a vision. So a vision at the heart of the mission. Concrete example. Let's say I want to build a whole village. In my mind, I want to build this whole village. I want thousands of people to want to move in here. I want to create a community where people are going to flourish and prosper. Well, that's your vision. If you were focusing on better capabilities, you would have said something like, I want to become better at building houses and bridges and city halls. We need to be better at building cities. While being better at building cities won't reach your objective, which is having a flourishing community with people who want to move in. So the vision is a little more encompassing. It considers a lot more factors than just capabilities. So that's why it's an easy mistake. Number 3, outsourcing the whole transformation to consultants. It is tempting to hire consultants to ask them show me the way. Just do it for me and I'm going to do what you're going to tell me to do. Why is that a mistake? It sounds reasonable. There's experts out there who've been doing it for a long time. They've done it several times. Why not give the key to the castle to these guys and all you need to do, they lead, you follow. Sounds great. Well, that doesn't work out. So the reason why this statement is wrong because it's saying the whole transformation. What you need to fix on that is you need to be smart about how you're doing things and you need to outsource certain parts of the transformation. So you need to be smart about what you're trying to achieve, again, as you're offering more value, as you have your vision. And you need to be able to pick and choose the components of your transformation which you think you think somebody else could be better at. But giving away the whole thing, it doesn't make sense because the transformation is about you, right? So it's about your business. It's about your team. It's about the people being part of the process and the company and the product and the services. So giving away the whole thing, it's like asking your neighbor to fix some of the issues you could be having within your couple. You can't, but you need, instead of asking the neighbor to do the whole thing, you need to find help for specific issues you could be having at home, whether it's organization, whether it's getting help. So you need to be smart around how you ask for help and who's going to help you. Now, thinking about certain parts, if you go back to one of my videos I've made, there's a 9-step business transformation. And within that, if you take a look at this approach, it's easy to slice and dice the cake in a way you can pick and choose which part of the transformation you're not comfortable with. If you're not comfortable with putting a vision together, designing a business model, then take that chunk and get somebody who's great at doing that and assign it to that consultant. And in that way, you're still controlling the whole picture. You still have the finger on the pulse. You know what's going on. But you can't give the whole thing away. You need to be smart about it. Number 4. Like talking about consultants, it's easy to make the mistake to be smart about your money, to be cautious on how you're spending your money, and to avoid all consultants. You want to do it internally. You're going to go like, I'm going to hire the best of the best. We're not going to go with consultants. We're going to take the best of the best and hire them and put them part of the internal team. Well, it sounds great. It sounds reasonable. It sounds doable even. Well, you're going to hit a wall. Like you're going to hit something which you won't fully understand until it's too late. So the mistake on this specific statement, it's avoiding consultants. Like, okay, let's fix that. If we fix that, that means we're going to say something like avoiding fuzzy consultancy to save money. So it's not around avoiding consultancy at all cost, and not understanding why that could be hurtful for you. It's around understanding what is, I don't want to say toxic consultancy. I'm going to use the term fuzzy consultancy. So what is fuzzy consultancy and how to avoid that? Because fuzzy consultancy is basically consultancy getting help you don't quite understand. And once that person has helped you, in theory, there's no tangible result or no way for you to prove that it has actually helped you. So when you get fuzzy consultancy, you're kind of confused in the process. They're experts, but somehow it's not working great. And all you're left with is a stack of PowerPoint, PDFs, documents, best practices, and nothing happens. That's fuzzy consultancy. A majority of the time, that's what happens, unfortunately. So you need to avoid that. So it's not about avoiding consultancy. It's about avoiding consultancy which is not focused and does not generate value. Number 5, managing the transformation like a project. Like most of the things we imagine in business starts and finishes. That's the concept, right? That's what we're used to. So it feels kind of like a marathon. We always say like it's a long marathon. Well, fine, okay. But a transformation isn't a marathon. It's a process, right? It's I'm going to use the term, it's a journey, right? So it's not about the project. Let's fix that. Let's make sure we don't use that term or think in those terms. Let's make sure we use the term journey, because there's a long way to go. Using Simon Sinek, thinking about the infinite game, right? So there's no end to what we're trying to achieve here. And we need to look this as a long continuum of events which are necessary as you're changing and transforming and as the environment is changing as well. So it's more of a journey than a project. And that's going to put you in a setup where you're going to manage your energy and your resources in a whole different way than you would do with the 6-month project. Number 6. Now, isolating the transformation from the business It's the first reflex we do to create velocity or perceived velocity as you're going through a brainstorm phase of putting your team together and getting initiatives put together. So there's a certain level of frenzy and cool velocity at first as you're boiling over all these ideas. So the first reflex is to isolate the team from the business to get them going, right? That's a huge mistake. The reason why it's a huge mistake, and this is where there's some nuances to that, it's not about isolating the team from the business because they need to be part of the business. It's isolating the team from, and let's wait for it, conventional management thinking. So if you isolate the transformation and the transformation team from conventional management thinking, that means that people who are going to manage, influence, and decide on the transformation are not necessarily thinking the same way that they would be thinking if they would be running a business. So there's some differences. Running a business is fairly routine. There's, let's say, quarterlies, monthlies, weeklies. So there's a certain tempo to running a business, which is completely different from the tempo you can have and the vibe you can have when you're deciding and you're thinking around the transformation. So it's a whole different setup when you're managing transformation. So you need to isolate that type of thinking. So if you're a manager, you're managing both a business and a transformation, you need to be able to switch and isolate that type of thinking in your head so you're making decisions in the best way possible. Number 7. Now, believing motivation is enough to drive things forward, it's a statement we hear all the time. If you want to, you can do whatever you want to do. It's not true, is it? I can't be an astronaut. I can't be, I can't jump 6 feet in the air. So there's so many things that some people can do that I can't. And that's great because we're all different. So thinking that, if I believe I can do it, I can do it. It's a great thing to motivate people. It's great to get motivation, right? But motivation is not enough. It's not about I want to, therefore I can. So when you're driving transformation through several groups and people and sectors, there's this common belief that, listen, if a group of people want to, we eventually can. We're going to fix a statement. We're going to tweak it. So it's not about motivation, right? It's around understanding that it's a little more complicated than that. Therefore, believing a complex set of conditions are necessary, to drive things forward. So you need to believe the complexity required to understand all those conditions. 2 keywords, complexity and conditions. Once you accept that and you push away the concept of just pure motivation, now you're playing jazz. Now we're talking. So it's one of those things where you're used to simplicity and you're used to having a carrot in front of you to say that's what's going to get, let's just build an incentive to transform. It's no, it's not about an incentive only. It's one of those things, but incentives are short-sighted. So that's how we're going to fix that statement. Number 8, committing to a deadline before starting anything. This is where it's it sounds insane. It's if you start anything, before starting anything, why commit to a deadline? Well, that's the way things happen. You're going to get that mandate. You're going to go your boss or your customer are going to go I need this in 12 months, in 6 months, in 3 months. Can you get this and done in 2 weeks? So everybody's run by, deadlines, which is okay. Except when you run a transformation and you haven't started yet a transformation and you don't fully understand what's going on and you don't control what's going on, and most of the time you won't control what's going on in transformation, you're only going to be able to influence. So the mistake in the statement here is the deadline, and we're going to fix that. I think committing to progress, it's a lot better before starting anything. You can commit to progress because you can always say and be authentic and true to yourself by saying, no matter what happens, we're going to move forward. And if we don't move forward, we're going to learn about the things preventing us from moving forward, right? And that's progress. Big difference, right? So that's how you correct that statement, and that's how you avoid making the mistake of committing to something you don't fully understand. Number 9. Right? Talking about commitments. All right. So the second commitment you're going to make, which is a mistake, will be committing to deliverables before starting anything. It sounds like a deadline. It isn't a deadline. Sometimes we're going to say like, I'm going to get this done. You're going to get this. That's a deliverable, right? So we're used to, with this new age, we're used to ordering things and buying things. And like, for example, if you go on Amazon, you're used to putting like $100 down and you're going to get what you want in 2 days. So we're used to the click kind of very reactive world where you get what you want all the time. In a business, you're given a budget as a transformation lead, and they're figuring like, I'm giving you a stack of money and enough time to do something. Therefore, I expect you to deliver on this. Well, that's fine. Okay. That it sounds reasonable, but it isn't reasonable because you don't know what you're getting into and you don't know what the deliverable means yet. What's the effort and who needs to be part of that deliverable, right? I'm talking about complex transformations here. So we're going to fix a statement. So it's not about deliverables, right? We're going to change that and we're going to commit to, wait for it, transparency on the progress you're going to make before starting anything. And that means instead of saying, you know what, you're going to get this, you're going to say something like, you know what, with this amount of money and that amount of time, you're going to know exactly all the efforts we're going to make. We're going to make all the right decisions to get you what you want. No matter what happens, you're going to know exactly what's going on. And if you don't get what you want in the time you want, you're going to know so much ahead of time that we're going to be able to adjust things, adjust expectations, and make the right changes so we can work together to get what you want. So you're working towards progress, towards transparency of progress. And as you're hitting those roadblocks, that's transparency, whether it's reporting or dashboarding. So you're moving away from, you give me this amount of money, you're going to get what you want. You're moving towards like, I'm going to be pretty much like a doctor, giving you all the symptoms and signs and vital signs of the patient as things are evolving. And we're going to work together as a team to get this patient back to health. So transparency is the key word here. Number 10. Now the last one is a tough one, right? So the last one is picking the most knowledgeable players as leaders of the transformation. That's the easiest mistake, and that's the one I personally keep doing without knowing it. So let's break this down. Why is that a mistake? So what is wrong with this statement? Well, I think the most knowledgeable players as leaders is definitely a mistake. And it takes a lot of time to make a difference between a player in a team and a leader / coach, right? So the most knowledgeable players are usually part of all the critical discussions around transformation because they're always there in the room, because we're always asking questions. So what happens is that can translate to leadership. Expertise and leadership are very close to each other, but they're totally different. So leadership and expertise and pure leadership are two totally different things. You could have leadership and expertise and nobody wants to follow you. It's just that you're leading on a specific subject. So subject matter expertise does not equate to leadership. And that's where we need to fix the statement. We're not going to pick the most knowledgeable players as leaders. You're going to pick the right players to move them into a leadership position. And that means the players displaying leadership behaviors. And that means you need to understand and identify the types of behaviors you expect as a leader. Each company has got their own settings. There's some universal traits to leadership, a gazillion books on leadership, but you need to be smart about it. So as you're picking the right players within the team, as you're creating this transformation group and you're picking leaders. So that's it, guys. That's the 10 statements. I've done a little resume of all those 10 mistakes with identifying like exactly what's wrong with them and take a snapshot, print screen, whatever, of those top 10 to-dos. So basically the best practices, the rules to lead a business transformation, or at least a successful business transformation. It doesn't guarantee success, but it puts all the chances on your side to get to a successful journey. And talking about journey, remember, any business transformation is pretty simple. It starts from a position as you're getting to a destination, and you're going through a journey. And just check out my old videos on the journey and how you can get through that journey through the 9-step business transformation. And if you have any questions, comment, whatever, write me up directly. As you're creating your own journey, I'm here to help you guys out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.